Hello, I am Anton, and welcome to the IFL podcast number 4. I'm here today with Rachel Barnes, better known as Human Shaped Animal, who is an artist here in Santa Cruz, California. Rachel, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We've met a little bit before.
Yes.
But for the sake of the audience, I'm just going to pretend that I don't know anything about you.
Perfect.
So why don't we get started with who is Rachel Barnes? Where are you from?
So,
how'd you get here?
How did I get here? So I'm Rachel Barnes, and I'm from Mars, Pennsylvania.
Are you're actually from a town called Mars?
Yes.
That's amazing.
I know, the pause really adds.
It does. I was suddenly
like, all
worried
right,
about where
yeah,
this was going to go.
you're just
Like,
like,
we'll just cut the
corny.
whole. Okay.
So Pennsylvania. I went to college there. I went to a college called Bloomsburg University. I went there for art. So the program was, it was whatever. But
Okay.
it worked out. I'm here. I'm an artist. And so I moved here to Santa Cruz in 2016. And yeah, before how I got to Santa Cruz was I was living at this place called Omega, which was a live-work situation in upstate New York. It's like a wellness retreat center, and so you get to live there and you take a bunch of classes and whatnot, but it's only seasonal because it gets too cold.
Right.
And so in between seasons, I went on a month-long road trip, and I came out west for the first time. And I visited a friend who I had gone to college with, and she was living in Felton. So that was my first introduction to like this area. Right. Did my whole road trip, completely fell in love with the West, which I always knew I was a West Coast girl. Like, right. I don't do winters. And yeah, so then I went back for my second season. And then towards the end of the season, a group of us were like, well, what do we do now? And we're like, let's go to California. And so it ended up 5 of us drove out here. We caravanned out here, landed in here of November 2016. So wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and didn't find housing for 3 months. So we camped like during rainy season. Yeah, and that was my introduction to Santa Cruz. It was great.
That is a wild way to end up in Santa Cruz. Did you have any sort of plan other than let's go to California and figure it out?
That was our plan.
That
was the extent of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did not realize the housing situation here or the cost of rent. Right. But yeah, we made it happen. We made it work. We all got jobs while we were still camping. But we just looked horrible on paper. So it took us so long. And we were trying to fit 5 people in a 2-bedroom house. Not that we were telling people that, but
right.
But there's that. Yeah. But yeah, it didn't work. I'm the only one left.
Oh, so the other 4 people you came with, did they go back to the East Coast, or what happened to them?
They went all over. They dispersed. It was originally my idea to come, so it makes sense that I'm left here. But yeah, I think so. I've been here now for 7 years, which feels weird to say. Yeah. And I think I've been the only one here for like 5 years now.
Okay. Wow. All right. And so you mentioned that even though you were camping out for 3 months, you did have a job. Did you immediately start working as an artist?
No. So I was just cleaning houses. I did that for a couple months and was horrible at it. I just like to play with people's pets and look at their stuff. But I
mean,
I know it's like, oh, there. And so I did that for a couple months, and then I actually got a gig helping this lady with her jewelry booth for festivals. Okay. And so that kind of opened up the door of being a part-time artist for me, because the festival work was like I'd be gone for 5 days and home for 2 weeks and then gone for a week or home for like, so it wasn't like, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And then during that time period, I got linked up actually with a girl who was also had gone to Omega, the place that I had lived in New York. She worked at a hair salon and they wanted a mural. And so she connected me with them. And then through the city, I did the mural matching grant. So the city paid for part of it. And that was like my first large scale mural. And that was kind of my toes into the art scene of Santa Cruz. Yeah, and so for a while I was part-time artist, and then I kind of made the full leap. I think in like 2000 and maybe like 19, 18, somewhere around there. It was like transitioning.
How did you meet this? You said you did the jewelry booth with the festival with somebody else. How did you end up meeting that person? Did you clean their house?
No, so before I even got to Santa Cruz, I was like hashtagging my Instagram stuff as Santa Cruz artist or whatever. Right. And through that, a girl reached out and said that she was going to have an art meetup. And so I went to the art meetup, you know, was talking about how, like, you know, I was looking for a job and whatnot. And then she was friends with this woman, and yeah, connect us.
And this is the human-shaped animal Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. So you already had that name?
Yeah. Yeah. So human-shaped animal, I've been going under that for maybe like over 10 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was sitting, so even more than 10 years ago, I was sitting in sociology class, and my professor just used it in a sentence. He was just like, we're all just human-shaped animals. And it just like hit me. And I was just like, human-shaped animal, we're all just human. And it just like stuck with me. And then might have been after I graduated college or soon around that time. I was making jewelry, not connected to that jewelry, but so I was making jewelry, just repurposing and re-putting it together and everything. And I wanted a name for it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna just call it human-shaped animal. And then after that, I kind of just started adopting that as everything that I did creatively.
Okay. Very cool. So even at that point, when you're sitting in sociology class, are you thinking, I want to be an artist and this would be a good brand, or did that develop later?
So I knew I wanted to be an artist because I did go to school for art, and but human-shaped animal, I think it was just like that phrase just stuck with me, and that like not as like, oh, I'm going to make this my alias or whatever, but it just like lingered for a while. And so then when I was looking to adopt a name for the jewelry, that was still there.
It was still in your head. And
yeah, and I Googled it, and like nothing comes up other than like weird pictures of monkeys that kind of look like humans.
I mean, isn't that all monkeys, though?
Isn't that all of us?
Kind of, they kind of look like humans. Okay. So then you met someone else who went to Omega in New York. And did you meet that same person at the meetup?
So no, so I actually knew her already from Omega.
You already knew her.
And then she happened to move out here as well. Okay.
So you already knew her, but you didn't move together. This was separate movements. And then I see. So you did this mural at a hair salon. What was the mural?
So it's still located there. It's on the outside. It's on River and Water. So downtown, River and Water. And it is a girl's face profile, and then her hair kind of turns into the waves, and there's like some geometric mountains, and then there's these little like scene bubbles of like different places in California. So like there's Joshua Tree, and then there's Yosemite, maybe another one. And it was actually kind of, well, it was nerve-wracking to begin with because
I bet.
I was just like, I had done super tiny murals, like indoors, like this big. And so I was like, I'm just gonna do this, pretend I know what I'm doing. And the face is huge. The face is probably like taller than I am. Maybe I may be exaggerating, or maybe not. But the girl actually worked at the hair salon. And so it was nerve-wracking because the thing about murals is that it's not like other art where everyone gets to see it when it's finished. They're watching it in all of its stages, all the stages of hating it and like, don't look at it yet. And so when I was painting her face, like first she looked really fat and then she looked really old and then she looked really young, and it was like just like probably 2 weeks of like trying. I was like, I'm gonna get it to look like you, I swear. Like
That's really funny. I didn't realize you based it on an actual person at the
yeah.
hair salon. How did you pick? Was that the person who had approached you, or was it the owner?
She volunteered.
She volunteered.
Because like
Okay.
when I did the original mock-up, I just like used my face and I was like, I'm not using my face on the mural.
Right.
I want you to know I just needed to like use someone's face. And I was like, but if you know anyone that like would want, and they're like, oh, she wants to. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. And did you, after that whole process where it starts out as nerve-wracking and you have this multiple week process of just this face and feeling judgment, and then you finished, did you get hooked on murals? Like, did you say, I really want to do more of this? Or did you think, probably never going to do that again?
Oh, working big is like the best.
It's the best.
It's
Okay.
the best. And I always knew I wanted to do murals.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as like, I went to art school, which already in that like time period, I mean, probably still is not like the most, not people don't encourage you to go to art
Right.
school that often. And
They should, though.
they should. And especially because I like my specialty was in painting. And so especially at that time, I'm just like, well, what can a painter do
Right.
to like make a living? And I was just like, oh, murals. And it's just so much fun. Like working big like that is just like the best.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to do more of that.
Okay. And you mentioned as well that there was a matching grant from the city for murals. Could you tell me about that? I've never heard of it.
So Santa Cruz actually does some pretty cool grants. So they have one that is a mural matching grant. It's not always available, but when it is, basically they'll pay up to half of what the mural budget is. And yeah, the other half can either be provided through you're just dedicating your time, or people can donate materials, or the business itself is giving some money towards it as well.
Okay. What was the situation in this case? Did the nail salon just pay you, or did you have...
Yeah, so it was a mix. It was like, so I got the matching grant. The hair salon paid for a chunk of it, and then I got Kelly Moore Paints to just donate materials, which was great. Yeah, so it all kind of filled in the blanks for me.
Nice. I imagine that's a pretty good advertisement for Kelly Moore Paints because it's still up, right?
Yeah, still up. It's still like looks great. And they get to write it off on their taxes. So,
There you go. Do you still work with Kelly Moore Paints at all? If you're still doing murals?
That was the only time that there might have been one or two other ones where I'm not totally certain if they still do it. I've heard like mixed reviews. Sure. I think like during pandemic time too, there was like shortage of paint because everyone was redoing their houses.
Right.
So like
nothing else to do.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm actually not totally sure if they still do that or not.
Okay. And I know a lot of people who watch these are artists or aspiring artists. So I'd like you to tell me about the transition from a part-time artist to a full-time. What did that look like, and what were you doing before, and what was the trigger to say, all right, I'm doing it?
Well, I definitely think it is a major trust fall, which is amazing. And like, honestly, the more like you trust in it and the more you just leap into like, it's gonna work out, like, at least for me, it tends to like my art tends to hold me even more the more you lean into it, because it's the energy that you're giving it. And like, there was a moment at one point where, I did have a part-time job and I was doing art part-time. And then I was going to have to change housing because my roommates were leaving. And I was like, I shared a room at that time. And I was like, my rent's going to double. And like, that's what kind of helped me just do part-time work. And so a big part of my transition that helped was when I needed that housing, I actually got into the tannery. And the tannery is artist housing, and so it's rent controlled. And that was a huge blessing because actually moving, I got my own room and was paying less than what I was to share a room.
Wow. Okay.
So that has completely helped the journey of, because rent here is just like so
It's
much
crazy,
of
yeah.
your income goes to that. So yeah, and so for me, I went from part-time work and then I even narrowed it down even more to like 1 day a week somewhere.
And this was at like coffee shops or still the
Yeah,
jewelry
it
for
was
the
a
other
place
women?
called Homework, which is in Midtown, and it's like a home and work
Well, the name is apt, I
place.
guess.
Yeah, so I was just like maybe a weekend a month there and every Monday or something like that. And so I think like a big part of the transition too is realizing that there are going to be ebbs and flows.
Right.
And like there's going to be times when you have projects and there's going to be times when you don't have projects. And so I think another tip for like becoming a full-time artist is have multiple outlets. Sure. So I don't put all of my eggs in just my mural basket. I also do paintings and I do commissions. And even more recently, I do tattoos. So I kind of just fill in the blanks when there's openings of time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you got into the tannery, and was that before 2018, 2019 when you went full time?
Yeah, so the tannery was 2019. Okay. 2019. Yeah, so it was around the same time. And I think at that time that's when I was like kind of phasing out of working at Homework, and I was just like had a couple of murals lined up and it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna see what happens.
Right. And are you still at the tannery?
I am.
You
yes.
are. Okay, nice. I should go check it out and pretend to be an artist for the rent control.
It's great.
How do you like being at a place like that that's full of artists? Do you find that it helps you with your creative process, or just does it not matter?
I think the tannery is great because it does have like a lot of outlets. Like I've done a couple murals at the tannery.
Oh, so they actually have hired you to do stuff. Okay, cool.
And then also, it's just like it's a really great hub because there's also a bunch of, other than just the housing, they have studios as well, art studios. So there's like a bunch of different like that are open for First Friday or have different kind of markets. Sure. And so it's been really great to just connect with people there. Right.
Okay. And then one of the most interesting parts of this for me as someone who is less artistic, let's say in that way, is the business side of it. So how much let me start over. How do you decide how much to charge for a piece of art?
It's the hardest.
Is that the hardest part?
It's the hardest. Okay. Because it's such a weird mind game because, well, art in general is a weird mind game of like what is actually valued. Sure. So you're basically putting a number on your self-value that you like see as your like, so that's awkward for me. Because I'm just like an awkward money person in general. Right. And in our school, there was no business class. Sure. So it's like a hat that I have to put on that is too big for my head sometimes. Okay. And so I'm getting better.
It's good.
I mean, slightly.
Well done.
Sometimes I'm all over the place. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know, maybe like this much. But yeah, so I steadily increase. Sure. And there are like some little guidelines for murals at least. Sometimes you can do it by square foot. Okay. But yeah, that's probably the hardest part. And that's like, it's just not only is it like a business thing, but it's also just like a personal like hump to get over of like, I need to start charging more, or like, when do you start charging more? Or like, because money's different to different people too, you know? It's like this person wants this piece, and this amount may be a lot of money to them, and like it's like they really want it. And but then there's a whole flip side where it's like, okay, this person wants this mural, and that number is like whatever to them.
Sure.
But to me, it's a lot. And so
Right.
it's like, it's weird kind of fate, like understanding your demographic, but also keeping your prices like congruent so they're not like spiked for someone and lowered for someone else. So it's a tricky dance that I'm getting better at.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, what I've heard from lots of people who do art, some of the most talented artists I've ever met, and I went to school with a lot of artists. I didn't study art, as you might be able to guess, but I knew lots of artists. And there was a really widespread imposter syndrome. Did you have any struggles with that when you were just starting to go full time, or were you pretty much saying, yeah, I'm awesome, you know, buy my art, peasants?
Peasants. So imposter syndrome in what way? Of just like believing that I'm an artist and this is what I'm worth?
Yeah, well, especially related to the money is what made me think of it, because what you said earlier was when you charge someone, you're basically putting that as a value on yourself.
Yeah.
So was it difficult to go up to someone and say, hey, I'm worth, you know, I don't know how you do it, but you know, I'm worth X amount per hour plus materials. That's what you got to pay me. Like, was that a difficult
for
thing?
sure. Yeah, especially because like when you're first starting to, especially for murals, it's like, well, where do I even start? I mean, you can Google it, but the thing is that it's still across the board. And then you're like, I don't actually know how long this is going to take me, which is a bit, so it's hard to like give them a number.
Right. You can't really charge hourly because the hours are question mark.
They're question mark.
Unless you build them at the end, I guess, but that could cause other problems.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I mean, I still sometimes feel like imposter syndrome. Like sometimes, yes. I mean, sometimes like when you're like trying to get like a bigger gig and you're trying to push those bigger numbers. Right. Like, I think energetically sometimes when I don't get them, I'm like, oh, I didn't even really believe that like I could take that on. But yeah, especially just as like one person, like actually like being in like doing business with someone is just it's not my natural state. And so I really like when I do a mural for a business and I feel like we're homies and like we can chat and everything. But when it's like super transactional and such, that's where I feel like an imposter, because I'm not like, you know, in my business suit, I'm in like all my painted pajamas that I'm wearing outside.
Right. It does surprise me to hear that you still deal with that, because talking to you, you seem like such a confident person and you've done a lot of good stuff, which we'll talk about. So I think that might help people who struggle with that as well to hear, okay, this is a full-time artist for 7 years who's done all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, because there's so many like levels too. Right. It's like, because you kind of keep wanting to progress, and so it's like each time you progress into like a higher mark, it's like
you deal with the same thing again.
Yes, yeah. I deserve to be here. I am qualified. So.
And so you mentioned just now being a single one-woman operation. Was that always the plan, or is that something that you're happy with, or have you thought about, oh, maybe I should get someone, you know, on the business side to just say the amount and then it's not me deciding?
Right. So in the last year, I have actually I call her my art pimp, though I don't even think she knows that's what I call her.
She's gonna know now.
Yeah. And so so actually just of recent, she doesn't create my prices, but what she does do is she does pop-up galleries around the country, and so she takes my pieces and showcases them other places for me,
Gotcha.
which is really nice.
Okay.
Because that's like a big part of it is like for paintings is like, okay, I've made this piece. Now what do I do with it?
Right.
And it's like, you know, I've shown around Santa Cruz and everything, but it's like you need to, they need to get out there. So it's really nice that I got linked up with her. And so, yeah, she goes by Tribe 13 is their like art gallery that does
Tribe 13.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tribe 13. And, yeah, so that's been like super helpful because so for the most part, one woman show,
Right.
but
recently
someone is taking my babies
into
out
the
into
world.
the world, which is really great.
Okay. I want to step back just a couple years. So you start doing this mural, you move into the tannery, you go full time. What do you start doing? Are you only looking for murals? Did you start painting already? What was the thought process?
So, I think a big thing that I'm going to do, a little call out to the Fab Lab.
Okay.
Burp, burp, burp. So the Fab Lab was like a big also jumping off point for my artistic career and everything.
You started coming here around that same time, 2019?
Yeah, maybe earlier actually, maybe 2018 or so.
Okay.
Who knows? Yeah, probably 2018.
Okay.
So because I think another reason why my art has been able to go the lengths that it has is because I started using the tools at the Fab Lab.
Sure.
Which everyone here is familiar with Fab Lab, or should I describe the Fab? I mean, this is their podcast.
It is. You don't have to describe the whole Fab Lab, but
Yes.
what sorts of tools did you start using?
The laser cutter.
Oh, the laser cutter is a
I'm
good
indebted
one.
to now. And so basically, I always wanted to incorporate plants into my paintings, but did not know how to.
Okay.
I was like, I can't glue them on. That seems like inhumane.
Right. Oh, you mean actual plants, not?
Yeah.
I thought you meant
Like painting
like
plants.
painting a
No,
plant.
I wanted living plants in my artwork.
Interesting.
And so, someone told me about the Fab Lab and they're like laser cutter. And I was like, oh, I wonder what I could do. Because also at this time I was painting solely on wood because I don't like canvas. Like wood just seemed, I don't know. I like just so much because for a while I was painting with the wood grain and I like the bark and everything. And so, yeah, when I joined the Fab Lab, I started making these little plant, I don't even know if I ever came up with a name for it, but it was basically a painting and it was on a wooden canvas that I did not make. And I had a little shelf and I put a little succulent in it and painted it and it'd be like in a scene or like and then I started cutting things out. And so then these have just evolved. So now I full on cut out my own pieces and I have glass pieces that hang with the plants and everything. Okay. And so for that, when I was doing the smaller ones, I was also doing like markets and I was selling those. Okay. So I was doing both murals and these tiny things that have now evolved into bigger, more extravagant paintings and that have living plants in them. Right. And then another thing that helped was Jordan, the owner of the Fab Lab, my dear friend, who was also part of the space. This is my studio, art studio, which is a whole nother story. But
we'll get to that.
Yeah. He wanted a mural for the Fab Lab, but he suggested that we do it on wood pieces and then install it. Okay. And so we used the CNC router for that. And so that also opened up, I can offer murals to people not directly on a wall, but I could make a 20-foot by 10-foot one that pieces together with wood. And so then I could work on it. So then if they ever moved, they could bring it with them or they could still include plants. And so, yeah, I think having everyone loves plants.
Yeah, most people.
Most people love plants. It's like there's this meme where it's like, kids are out, plants are the new, or no, what was it? Kids are out.
Dogs are the new kids.
Dogs are the new
kids. Pets are the new kids. And plants are the new pets.
Plants are the new pets. So, yeah, I think having going through the Fab Lab and figuring out that process, and then being able to incorporate live plants has like given my work a boost.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the inspiration for using live plants? Because that's unusual enough. I don't know that I've ever heard of anybody having that as a goal. So how did you come up with that?
I just love them. And
You just like tiny succulents and you're okay.
But no, so in college, I did this whole body of work that was humans. So it was humans, but if they had evolved as plants. So it was this hybrid of human plant.
Okay.
And from there, I was like, oh, it'd be so dope if I could actually have have these paintings of these humans then morph into the actual plants. And so in my head, I was like, air plant, how can I attach it? And then the Fab Lab made that possible.
And you mentioned the place that we are in right now, which is called the Trellus Studio.
Yes.
And people watching, if you read the description, which you should, it says that this was filmed in the Trellus Studio. So where did this come from, and when did this happen?
So another encouragement for people who are trying to take their art further is to tap into your community. And so there was these two women who are dear friends of mine, Dana and Lee. They started a place called the Art Cave. And the Art Cave was it was in this building, but it was over in the other hall, much smaller. It started off as their art studio, and then they started putting on group shows. And so I got plugged into them through a group show, and then I just kept hanging around.
Okay.
And at the same time is when I found the Fab Lab. So I was like, oh, this building is great.
That's a great building, yeah.
And at this point, all the people that I moved here with left. And so it was like a new chapter for me. It was like, because I was kind of still in a bubble when they were living here, because we were just also like still contained. And like once they left, I was like, I really need to find community. And then Dana and Lee moved into this space, which it was the Art Cave. And it was a white wall gallery. They were doing shows. We were also putting on events with the Fab Lab, because Jordan was also very close with them. And they got overwhelmed and a little burnt out, because this is a huge space and putting on shows like constantly. And so January 2020, they brought 4 of us on, because they're like, you're here all the time. Why don't you pay to be here? No, just kidding. But
well, kidding, but
yeah.
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
But it was like, you should have a studio here. Like, come have a studio here, and you could also like help run the gallery and be a part of this. Sure. Which was great. And it was like another leap of like, okay, I'm taking on more rent, but I feel like when you make those leaps, the universe kind of starts filling in the gaps. Right. It's like, okay. And then all of a sudden it just becomes like part of your life. And it's like, oh, I forget that I pay for this. Right. So 2020, we all know what happened 2020. So we had a great show January 2020. February, we built, because we had to, you can't see Trellus right now, but there's a site. We built walls in here. I mean, we're encased in them right now. So with this, we built 3 new studios. Right. And so we took all of February to do that, or maybe I'm getting the timeline wrong, somewhere around there. Right. And then COVID happened, and we didn't know what to do with the space because it was a gallery. Right. And so, side note, Jordan, owner of the Fab Lab, also joined this space when I joined it. He
was one of the 4 people, including you, who joined.
And then, the pandemic happened, and like no one was in here, and we were like, what do we do with this space? Like, we're still paying for it. Me and Jordan used it like as another safe place to go, and kind of became like our living room. And also at that time, the Fab Lab was making masks. So I was in here and I was sewing masks for the pandemic. And the girls both ended up becoming pregnant in that year, and like slowly stepping out because they had a new project.
That's one way to put pregnancy. It's a project.
It's just a project.
Takes a long time to
phase.
make
Yeah.
and might be ugly. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
they just it's their thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so basically it's been now 4 years, which is crazy. And it has gone through many iterations of different members. The space itself has looked completely different. One of our members built a second floor. We cut the walls in half. We put them on wheels. We moved them around. We've painted the walls. Yeah. We had a rock wall at one point. Lots of different things. It became our playground. Right. And then also during the pandemic, one of Jordan's friends, Andrew started hanging out here, and he's a DJ, and he was like, yo, I want to do a live stream, because he wanted to get out his music somehow during the pandemic. Right. And I was like, well, I'll create a backdrop for you. Right. And I'll paint something, and then you can live in the environment, and we'll do the live stream that way. Right. And then that has just kind of grown. And so that project is called Headroom. And so, yeah, we'll put on shows in here every once in a while, sometimes private, sometimes a little more public, where we'll redo the whole space. We'll do a big art installation, and then we'll have different DJs and music. And nice. Yeah. And
the mural that you did in the background, is that one over there?
No, that's a different iteration. Well, it is the stag head. Right. The stag head has been here since the very beginning, right. But it was on a wall that doesn't exist in here anymore. Right.
So for viewers, you may notice that the first 3 episodes had a different background, because the first 3 were over there. So now we're over here.
Now we're over here. But that one, the usual background, that was part of one of the headrooms. Not the first one, but that was one of them, yeah. Okay. And this one's another one.
Right. And you did all this art? This was you? Okay, nice. How did you decide on what a background piece should be? Because with most art, you want people to be focused on that thing. But with a background, you sort of don't. So how did you approach that?
So each time is slightly different, kind of. Usually we'll start with a theme. This one was hive mind.
This one right here.
So there's these heads that are not on screen right now that have honeycomb shooting out of their head. That these heads are often they keep making appearances in different ways in our shows. But so I have to take into account that there is going to be a DJ booth. Right. And there's going to be a DJ. Right. So for this kind of works because it's seen, and then so our DJ lives in a box like this usually. Right. And so I'll usually put stuff on the outside panels too. Okay. So on the side of the DJ. Sure. And then we have this projection sculpture thing that is above these walls. Okay. It's the whole thing. So this is like just a small part of it. Right. And then we have lights and always plants. And,
of course, as we can see.
As you see. Yeah, so it all depends. And sometimes we run into some problems, as in I have built this thing of the art, and all of a sudden there needs to be a speaker there, and I didn't know there needed to be a speaker there. And so the mix of musicians and artists, we come to a good place of like, okay, what is going to sound best and what is going to look best. And sometimes I come in day of a show and I come in and move things around and move the lights because they come in and the lights aren't right or the plant's not right. I move things and then they're like, hey, you're actually blinding the DJ, so you can't have that light on. So it's, yeah. Okay. We learn each time.
Okay. So it seems like you mentioned earlier that it was sort of scary to start paying rent and be a part of this studio. Would you say that actually taking that leap and having your own space to become your playground really helped a lot with your art?
1,000%. 1,000%. One, when you're doing full-time art, it's at least beneficial for me to not be in my home.
Sure.
It's like, okay, I am going to
You're
work.
in art mode rather than just in your living room.
Exactly.
Right.
Which I did for a while.
Right.
So it's great. I have my whole area, which just keeps expanding. We laugh that my mega desk is just becoming bigger and bigger. And another benefit is that the Fab Labs are right across the hall.
Right.
And so that makes things extremely easy.
Right. In terms of using the tools and
Totally.
getting inspiration or whatever.
And then also it helped because we started doing these shows and we started being able to do installation art, which really lights me up, and like, you know, I can build my portfolio in order to then, you know, hopefully be able to do
more stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, we're almost to the modern day, which is very exciting. So about a year ago, you meet your art pimp, Tribe 13. I'm just gonna call her that because it's hilarious.
Okay.
So at this point, you're already doing obviously the murals. You have paintings you're sending out with her. Do you have any other avenues of art that you're doing at this point?
Yeah, so I'm tattooing.
You've already started tattooing.
Yes.
Okay, when did you start that?
So I started, years just get kind of weird. I think I've been doing, so tattooing was something I always wanted to do, but I quickly just like discarded that dream because I didn't want to dedicate my whole life to it. I didn't necessarily like want to go through all the motions that you usually have to go through. And then a couple years ago, my sister got me a stick and poke kit for my birthday. And I was like, oh, okay.
And a stick and poke kit is what?
So
as a non-tattoo artist, I don't know what that means.
So it's the organic, not organic, but it is the, so you don't use machine. It's literally, I mean, there's certain needles that they are for tattooing, and a lot of the times they could also be used in machine, but you're doing it one dot at a time. It is a labor of love.
I can imagine it would be, yeah.
So yeah, and you slowly build up the thing, and weirdly, some people still like that technique. So that was like my introduction to it of like, okay, I'm just going to try this. I think she got it for me so I would tattoo her. and
did you?
I have. She needs like an actual one.
Oh, okay.
She got one of like the first ones, like some toes.
Right.
Like some little ones on her toes, and like that was like years ago. And so she's due for an actual one. But I met this other stick and poke artist who was doing it full time. He was like, yo, like you should start offering this to the public. So I started that, and then he switched to machine, and then he started to teach me machine. And so now I do both. Okay. And yeah, and it's a really great thing to supplement in. Right. Because I can still make my own schedule with it. Sure. And I can go through phases where I am tattooing and then when I'm not tattooing. Right. So yeah, it's been a really sweet journey because as an artist, a lot of the time I'm working by myself. Right. And I miss humans sometimes, just sometimes.
Right.
And
other human-shaped animals.
Yes, the other human-shaped animals, the herd. And yeah, I think what was really surprising to me was how nourishing it was to like just my social meter, in the way that like rarely do you get to sit down and talk to someone for a couple hours who you haven't really had a conversation with, like, and yeah, and then there's this like level of trust because they're letting you
permanently mark them.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's just been like a really sweet way to like meet new people and to get to know them and have this like weird little relationship with them. Right. And like I'm someone who like I feel like I don't have a good memory, but I have a great memory for like, you told me that your sister's husband's mom's dog has Cancer right now. Like, I'll remember that. Like, so like next time I see them, I'll be like, okay, so how's this? How's that? Like, I actually like really enjoy hearing about people's lives, and people have some crazy stories. And it's interesting having people like, they show up and like, you know, they're a little nervous and it's kind of just like niceties. And then by the end of it, I know like all these crazy things about their life. And I'm just like, this is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, it's really sweet. And it's been like, just a really amazing way to connect with people. And I look forward to, okay, so I'm going to tell you about one of my dreams are.
Okay.
So, another thing that I'm exploring is natural building. So building homes, structures with earth.
Okay.
And so, a couple years ago, so once upon a time, I went to the Amazon and I lived in the Amazon jungle for 2 months, and because I did a mural trade.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you continue, but you can't just drop I lived in the jungle for 2 months and then move on. So
moving on.
Okay, so
But while
we'll get
I
back
was
to that.
there, I had this like I need to learn how to build with earth. Like, I really want to build my home one day. And from there, I went down a rabbit hole of like, what are even the options? And I found this group called the Mojave Center, who have become like such a dear family of mine, who make these super adobe domes. And so basically, these domes, they use sandbags. And so you're literally digging up the earth, putting in the bags, tamping it, like making this whole structure. And they kind of look like little honeycombs almost, because you keep going in a circle. So they're very circular, very feminine.
Right.
And so my dream is to one day build one of those, make it like a whole art project, like make it, mural it, shape it how I want, like embed plants into it, all the things, and then tattoo out of there.
Okay.
And also like make a smaller one that maybe it's like a shower or a bath, somewhere they can like almost bring like more of like a ritual back to like tattooing. Okay. Make it like a little bit more, not so transactional, not like I'm going into the shop with all these hardcore men in this fluorescent lighting and we're just gonna, here's my money, okay, tattoo me. I like want it to be like a little bit more personable, and like maybe we'll have tea, and like I just want it to be I
I'll go there just for the tea. I don't
right?
even need a tattoo.
Exactly, just the experience. And I want to call it the womb tomb, which I know could sound really awful.
I'm gonna ask you about it. Don't worry.
Yeah. So that was another phrase that like kind of hit me, because I love opposites. I love things that contrast each other but also complement each other at the same time. And I also love the idea that beginning is the end. Okay. Like it's the same moment, beginning and end. And so womb, birth, tomb, death, and I just love that they rhyme and they're containers. So you have your womb tomb. So, and then my little dome will be my womb tomb, and you'll come to the womb tomb. Okay. And you'll get your tattoo.
Right. It's kind of fun because in a way you're reborn as this person now with something else on your body. You're not, in a very literal sense, you don't look like the same person anymore. Yeah. So I find that interesting. I was going to ask about your description of the dome as feminine, which now I understand that your concept of them as the womb tomb, because I don't think of domes as feminine. I think of them as domes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that like a lot of natural building has a lot of curves in it, and a lot of like our structure now is very edgy and very boxy and more masculine feeling. And I feel like curves are a little more feminine.
I mean, I like curves.
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Anyway, okay. So you were in the jungle for 2 months.
Yes.
When was this? How did this happen?
I love the jungle. So it was 2021. 2021. This human reached out to me on Instagram, and it was like, wanted a piece. He wanted a commission piece.
Okay.
And he was like, listen to this podcast, and so you can get a better idea of who I am.
Okay.
And on the podcast, he mentioned that he would go to the Amazon jungle and like had to create like really fell in love with his family there and was starting to offer these like 2-week excursions where you could come to the property with the family, and it had a little bit of indigenous immersion. It had like an adventure element to it because you did like tree climbing and other excursions like that. And then there was the yoga part of it because he is a chiropractic, and so he's developed this whole his own type of yoga that deals a lot with the spine and alignment, and so it's called Chiro Yoga.
Sure.
And his podcast, he just seemed like a dope human. And so we were talking, and I was like, I would like to come to the Amazon. How about we
Right.
how about we do like part trade? Like what you would do towards a painting, we'll put that money towards the retreat. And then we kept talking, and he was like, well, like this family is really great. Like if you want to stay longer, we could talk about that happening. And then it just evolved into me staying 2 months and then painting a mural for them on their property. Yeah, and they were like on a couple 100 acres in the middle, not the middle, but in the Amazon. And yeah, I just like, part of my soul is jungle. Like,
Hence the plants.
and the plants, and like it just, there's the way the jungle like expresses itself. I just like that, it's just so vibrant. And like I've already been painting the, you know, the ferns and the monsteras, like all these jungle, these plants that just grow straight out of the ground, all these ones that I'm like decorating my house with. I'm like, here they all are in the wild, and they're huge, and they're like all growing on top of each other, and it's just like so magical. And so yeah, and so a part of me is always trying to get back to the jungle. Right. And so the next year, actually, because I got really into, I like went head first into natural building, so I looked up other natural building stuff, and there was an internship, which actually, so Santa Cruz does artist grants, and they do them twice a year, and part of it can be for development, like say you wanted to take a workshop or you needed a new computer or something. Sure. And one of them is creative, and the creative one is if you have a specific project in mind. Okay. And so I actually got a grant to do this internship. It was a sustainability internship in Costa Rica, so I got to go back, different jungle, and live in the jungle for 2 months. Again,
another 2 months.
Another 2 months the next year. This year, or this past year, there was no jungle in my life, but maybe this year. But, and so I learned some more natural building there, because, yeah, it's just, I mean, I already like to, it seems like the natural evolution of like me putting a plant in my work to me building something out of earth and then painting it.
Right. Okay. Well, this might be a weird question. So
Bring it on.
Why did you leave the jungle?
Because I can't speak Portuguese.
Okay. Why can't you speak Portuguese?
Oh my God. That's a question I keep asking myself. So, well, moving to a country would be very difficult. Yes.
So it's mostly about the logistics, not lack of desire?
Totally. Okay. The desire is to get back to the jungle. Right. But there's also, I love Santa Cruz. Right. Ideally, I would live in multiple places in a year.
So something actually similar to what you've done. So a couple months here, maybe the rest of the time in one other place, or are you thinking maybe like 3 different places?
So,
or more?
Who knows? I also love the desert.
Okay.
Remember, I like things that contrast yet complement each other. And I think the desert and the jungle, very different. But there's something about them that are just like, they have they're, I don't know.
So that's why desert plants are your favorite. That's why you like succulents.
That's why I love succulents and cacti, but jungle plants are also my favorite.
Right. 2 favorites.
2 favorites.
Okay.
Put down the middle. I'm not an ocean person, but don't tell Santa Cruz.
Did you hear that, Santa Cruz? Not an ocean person.
No, I love the ocean. It's just.
But there's no plants in it. Well, there are. But...
True. Yeah. I think if I grew up near the ocean, I'd be like.
You'd be all about it.
I'm all about it. Not that I grew up in the jungle or the desert, but
Right.
they trump the ocean for me. But I love the ocean. I love Santa Cruz. And now I am a slave to the laser cutter. So I need to be around it. So I need to stay in Santa Cruz. But yeah, so ideally, who knows?
Right.
But probably a mix of Santa Cruz or some type of something, jungle, desert. It doesn't have to be, you know, all cut up equally, but those are important to me.
Right. You want to spend significant amounts of uninterrupted time
Yes.
in these varying places.
Yes, and I really like to get like out of society off grid too.
Yes, that's really enjoyable
Yes.
to be able to do that.
So desert and jungle, there's a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of like out there stuff.
Right.
So that's helpful for my being because
So that pretty much brings us up to current day. You're tattooing, you're doing murals, you're doing paintings. Is there anything else that you're doing right now that's cool and I would want to know about?
Nothing on the forefront. There's things that I would like to get my paws into eventually.
Oh, please. I'd love to hear about what you want to get your paws
I would
into.
love to do pottery.
Pottery. Okay.
I would love to do pottery because earth building.
Oh, okay.
Smaller version.
I didn't put that together, but
And
that makes
also,
sense.
I have the living plants in my pieces. So if I could create the vessel that the plants live in, that could be unique to the piece, it would complete.
You'd have the full.
I would have the water, the soil, the wood, the earth, all the elements.
Right.
And then I'd blast off into space.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that sounds cool, especially the blasting off in the space part.
Yeah.
I don't know that pottery could do that, but
It's all the elements combined.
if it does, we got to do a part 2 about how that works exactly. Cool. That's awesome. Well, this has been really, really fun getting to know you more. It's been like over an hour
Oh my
already. Is there anything else that you think I should know or that you want to tell the people about or anything else?
Anything else? My parting words?
Yeah, but, I mean, they don't have to be like,
Anything profound?
and always remember. No, just, anything else we should talk about. It's not meant to be a tough question.
I know.
If we're
It's
good.
like, I have that. It's like it reminds me of I'm doing a mural right now, and they literally were like, "Do whatever you want. We don't even have to see mock-ups." And the ability of giving me
Unlimited freedom.
makes me just like
Yeah.
crumble. Is there anything that you would like to?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you a small story of my art career because
okay.
I've heard a lot about you.
Yes.
So when I was a kid, the hardest thing for me was being given a blank piece of paper and told, make something on this. There was only one time that I think I was really successful at it.
Uh-huh.
And what I drew was a bunch of circles like this.
Uh-huh.
And I may have drawn one or two other lines. And I titled it Polar Bear in a Snowstorm.
Amazing.
You can't see it
See?
because it's all white, but that was about as creative as I've
And
ever
in the
gotten.
art world, if you're confident enough, you could make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that path may be closed to me for now, but
For now.
I appreciate that. Okay. Well, then why don't you tell the people where they can find you if they want to commission you or anything like
Yes.
that?
So everything under the sun, human shaped animal. Instagram, human shaped animal. Website, humanshapedanimal.com. If you want to email me, Rachel at humanshapedanimal.com. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. If you're a Facebook person, I have a Facebook page with human shaped animal. But like,
I like the hesitation on that.
it's like if your aunt wants to like look me up, then
Does anybody use Facebook anymore? That's so funny. There's something that I was thinking about and talking to Jordan about before this, which is that you've done so many murals around town. You could do almost like a pub crawl of them.
We'd have to like walk like miles.
Well, I am curious. Let's say I wanted to do this pub crawl.
Okay.
And go to all your murals in Santa Cruz, or at least a good number of them.
Okay.
Where would I go?
Okay, so you can start with the original one on River and Water.
Right.
You go to the tannery. There's one that's on the Levee Trail.
Okay.
There is also one near our elevator. I don't know if you can get to that one, but you can.
Your elevator?
The elevator in our building.
In this building?
No, at the tannery.
Oh, at the tannery. Okay.
You could go to the Fab Lab. There's two. One on the door that enters and one by the laser cutter. You could go to Moe's Alley in the back and inside. You could go, I just finished one on Mission Street, which is going to be part of the Hook Outlet, which also they have a place in Watsonville if we expand a little bit. There's one there. You can go to Bookshop Santa Cruz. There's one in there. You can go to Mellow Mellow Kava Bar. There's one in there. You can go to 11th Hour downtown and on the west side.
God damn. We are going to have to walk a lot, aren't we?
I think that's all I can think of at the moment.
Oh yeah, I mean you really need to step up your game. It's only
like, come on.
18.
We need one on every street. Okay, Santa Cruz, help me. One on every street.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well then, yeah, I think we're good for today. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
We did it.
Yeah, it's been so much fun.
It took us a little bit to start,
yeah,
but we did it.
Yeah, you don't know that unless you watch the blooper reel.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Coming soon. Yeah. All right. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching, everybody.